Everybody,
Hello.
and welcome to Deep Work Fast, where today I'm Chris Grimm and my partner in crime, my wingman, my bestie,
Ride or die.
ride or die. Michelle Calderigi is with me, and I just think it is incredible that we decided to talk today about resilience and stress, etc. And you guys, we have had every tech problem that is possible. I shouldn't say that because we'll have another one in the next less than 20 minutes. But wow. Okay, look, we're going to get right into it. Michelle co-wrote the blog with me this week. If you didn't see it, it's called Redefining Resilience, so that we can stop overfunctioning or something like that. I can't even remember the title. Feels like it was a long time ago.
Redefine resilience and stop overfunctioning.
Yeah. So let me frame it, everybody, because the reason we did this is because in the last few weeks, if you have not been here, maybe this is new news, I've been covering ideas around what's called self-protection. Every person has some way, some armory, I call it, of tools, tactics, the way you think, the way you listen, the way you talk, the way you behave, that you have developed over your lifetime. So the older you are, chances are the more connected and attached to these things you are. We can do that another day. But one of the conversation that's been happening in the background with our team, which is the birthing of this today and our blog, is that what happens when we start to look at our armory and our self-protection, specifically when we overfunction, which many of us, that's a key part of our armory, right? We use our strengths too much sometimes, specifically when other people aren't doing what they said they were going to do, doing what we want them to do, or we're in situations, right, Michelle?
I was going to say we expect them to do that they're not really aware that they're supposed to do. We just expect them to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, that's so good, right? So yeah, and I want to note, because then I'm going to hand it over to you to maybe tell your story, and part of what built the blog, right, is what Michelle's saying is really important, right? We all have all these expectations, stress we put on ourselves, stress we put on other people. And like Michelle's saying, sometimes it's not overt. So it's not always like, go pick up your socks. The person doesn't pick up their socks and then you get mad. That's only part of it. Part of us over functioning sometimes is the expectations we have with people, and they may not know. So Michelle, why don't you tell your juicy, good part of this story?
Well, to that end, picking up on that thread, it's the expectation that, Chris, I'm going to expect you to know what I want you to do, and then you don't do it, and I get disappointed. So then I do it for you. And I think that, oh my gosh, I've got to do this because Chris isn't reading my mind that she's supposed to be doing this. So it just adds more work onto my plate that I think that I need to do because no one else is doing it. So it adds to all of this overfunctioning and the delivery of this result that I've got in my mind, that this is the way the picture is supposed to look. So I'm the only one that really can do that, can deliver that.
Yeah. And let's take this further, because a lot of the people who we work with every day, a lot of our friends too, anybody who might be watching this, oftentimes in our professional lives, we take on roles where we have to get stuff done. I mean, otherwise, why is somebody paying us, right? And when we are deep in our career and we've had a lot of success, chances are some of that success is because we've learned to get stuff done regardless of what the people around us are doing. And that can start with, like, my daughter saying, I've got this project with my college, one of her teams in one of her classes. The project has to be done. And all of a sudden, she's sitting at my kitchen table at midnight before the night's over, and she's talking to me about how no one else delivered, right?
Yep.
Some of that was overt commitments that weren't met. Some of them were things in her head, like you're saying, Michelle, because she has super high standards. She wants to get straight A's. Not all the people in her group might have wanted that. as I'm saying this, I'm hoping everybody's starting to resonate when you think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it at work a lot, and we do it at home a lot. And go ahead, Michelle, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, if we're managing a team, we have expectations of our team, and sometimes they aren't aware that you're expecting them to do certain things that in the way that you do them.
Oh yeah, look, 100%, right? And if you get the blog, everybody, and I hope you do download it or just click on it, read it, it'll take a few minutes. We talk about the fact that the pattern that we see when we're coaching people, but frankly, we've had it ourselves. We have to sometimes remind ourselves about it, is that coming back to resilience, right? The definition of resilience is being able to bounce back from adversity and stress. Well, that original definition wasn't really put there to address us just being tough and muscling through sometimes self-imposed and sometimes other imposed kind of need to overfunction. So everybody just let that sit for a second, right? So resilience, when we say you should be resilient, right? We shouldn't all be wearing a badge of honor for all these situations that we take on and create, and then say, oh, I'm look what I did. I'm a superwoman because every day I can put up with these monkeys. Or, every day I come in and I go to a job and maybe with a toxic culture. Or I've climbed the ladder and I've become an executive. And to do that, I've had to tolerate all this, what sometimes is abusive.
Right.
Right. We shouldn't be wearing a badge of resilience for that. But we've done it. We're with you. We're not shaming anybody. We're just saying, can you start to be aware that this might be real for you? Thanks to the dog for adding into today's. She always has to make a cameo, doesn't she? Thanks.
She wants to add.
I think she's just saying, here, here. I'm seconding this. Let me come back. So what we're proposing is that you redefine resilience. And instead of staying in that I'm resilient because I'm tough, badge of honor, I'm going to continue to muscle through this, even if it feels bad and it makes me really mad and I have all this resentment. Let's not do that anymore. So if we redefine resilience, we can expand that definition. And Michelle found some really great expanded definitions. And I'd love for you to share maybe one or two of those.
Yeah. So one is trying to be flexible and letting go if you can, or try letting go at least one thing around the control of the situation that you are sort of taking over, or you feel like you have to take over. So can you let someone else in and help you? And can you just allow the result to be delivered the way it's going to be delivered, as opposed to the result you have in your head that you think it should be? So sometimes we get caught up into this perfect world that we've got going on in our head.
Uh-oh, there's that extra tech problem that I told you guys was going to show up. So hopefully Michelle will come back with us. She's stuck for me. I don't know if she's stuck for you guys. But I want to just keep going because I promised you 20 minutes or less. So what Michelle's talking about is us redefining this resilience to stop controlling so much, right? That is going to take your own new kind of resilience, right? Because it's going to be uncomfortable. Think about a real situation, everybody. Like if you have situations where you usually lean in. Hi, Michelle's back. Great.
Oh, good.
You're back. But if you're used to leaning in, like Michelle's saying, and taking control of situations, and every time you do that, it creates potential like resentment, annoyance, frustration, because even though you're doing it and probably getting great results, you're carrying residue from that really keeps you angry and upset at the other people. This is super common. And men and women do this differently. So let's just talk, because we into women do it. Like what Michelle's saying is that if we can stop doing that, now we personally need to learn to do something new. We need to have resilience around the discomfort that we're going to feel when we don't take control of things. And Michelle, I don't know if you were going to go there, but I think we should talk about the void, right? Which is that time that you have to be patient and allow someone to step into that space and do something.
Right. Yeah, that gets to feel really weird, uncomfortable. Um, you could feel anxiety from that because you're not being kinetic. You're not taking an active you're not taking action, and that's weird for those of us who overfunction. It's
That's
what
right.
our default is to just continue to do. We're doers.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the other part of that, and we wrote a little bit about it in the blog, but I think, I mean, I've already had some comments from people about this thing I'm about to name, which is when we go through years and years and years of over functioning, right? Controlling too much, using our strengths too much, filling the space where other people aren't meeting us. We train the other people. That's not our intention, everybody. Right. Because you may be verbally bashing them. You may be like nagging them. You may be going through a cycle and a process, whatever your pattern is, that you've created with the people who you habitually spend time with and have to do things with. So mostly work and home, right? But if you think about that, we get these patterns going. Well, the other people meet us in the pattern. So if I yell at my kids, my kids are old now, so it's a little different. But when they were teenagers and we all lived in the same house, not uncommon pattern, right? They throw their clothes on the floor. Every mom probably has a version of this story, right?
Yep.
We say, don't throw your clothes on the floor. Please pick up your room. We threaten them with whatever. I'm going to take away your PlayStation, or I'm going to take something away. It gets exhausting for the adults. And so oftentimes we give in, and the way we give in is we overfunction. We go pick up the stuff.
Yep.
But we have the residue of resentfulness. And like I said, this third thing is we are training them that no matter what we say, we're going to do it.
Right.
And that, everybody, is what I call a pattern, right? It's a habitual pattern that we've helped create. And it takes personal resilience to continue to function that way, right? So our proposal is, if you're needing resilience to kind of stay in whatever game you're in, why wouldn't we stop the overfunctioning and use our resilience to help ourselves recover from the discomfort of not being in control, inviting other people to the party?
Right.
Sounds easy when we say it.
I'll get right on that.
Yeah, well, I think you are. And I'll say to everybody, you know, we're not just talking about this for our own health. We're talking about it for all of our health. And part of what we do, not just in Avi, but in Aria and all the things that we're doing. There's the other thing going wrong today, my voice. Important, right? You can't just talk about this and make it better. Which is why some people are like, why are you doing retreats? Why are you doing all these other things? Because you have to holistically go at this, everybody. If you have a lifetime of habitual patterns of overfunctioning, and then you also have a lifetime of maybe moments in time where you've tried to create space and trust other people to show up, and it didn't happen, which I know for a lot of you, that's part of this story, right? I mean, Michelle, you and I have had this conversation.
Yep.
9 hours to Sedona in the car when we were Thelma and Louise, everybody. We've talked about this. So we want you to know, one of the reasons I asked Michelle to come with me is sometimes when I'm doing deep work fast or I'm doing something and I'm just talking into a computer, hoping somebody's going to watch the video and listen, I don't get to get into this real life process. So what I thought is maybe just for the next 5 minutes or so, Michelle, since I do want to keep this under 20 minutes, it's my promise, is talk about some of the things you do when you're trying to work on this, right? When you're not controlling, when you find yourself in the discomfort or the void, what are some of the things that you're practicing?
Some of the things that I'm practicing is breathing. So trying not to hold my breath through the discomfort. So really kind of taking super deep breaths into my belly. That's one. The other thing I try to do is something creative so that it engages my right brain
Mm.
and disengages the linear left brain. So to just, maybe it serves as a distraction, but it really helps to kind of disconnect me from the need to drive and take over and do that thing. And it also serves to help me through the discomfort.
Mm.
So where I'm getting a little agitated, like, oh, it's not happening fast enough. This isn't happening the way I thought it would. Maybe I should jump in and write this email to make sure everybody understands. So it's almost a form of sitting on my hands, if you will, through that discomfort,
Mm.
breathing, moving
Mm-hmm.
to get the kinetic energy that's building up in my body. And then asking for help and then allowing the help.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, let me make a suggestion to everybody. And again, this is meant to be deep work fast, and this is very, very deep work. So it doesn't end with this 20-minute segment. I hope this is the beginning. Michelle just gave you some cues here and some clues, both. One is when we feel like we need to control things, but we want to maybe hold back from doing the old habitual pattern. Like she said, one way of doing that is breathing. So first of all, her not just normal breathing, but doing a special breathing pattern is taking control of something. So it helps your nervous system, your brain, your body, right, together do something instead of writing the email, instead of leaning in and doing whatever it is for the person, right? So you have to actually, as an adult, as you unlearn the old way, you've got to replace it or give yourself another option. And on the ARIA website, in fact, I'll get Heather to grab the Stop Challenge and Choose blog. Some of you who are familiar with ARIA, that's the consulting firm that I've had for 27 years serving corporate. On that website, there is a blog called Stop, Challenge, and Choose, and it's an actual system. So for those of you who are in corporate jobs at the moment and you say, oh my God, that would be impossible for me to do in my leadership or in my role as an executive, I'm going to tell you that it's not impossible. It only feels impossible when we try to stop doing the old thing and we don't replace it with something else.
Yep.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, Michelle. Like I said to everybody, I am going to keep my promise to you of 20 minutes or less, which means we are going to say goodbye for today. That went by fast.
Yes.
I want to encourage everybody to not just think about this a little bit, like really dive in and be brave. We are here to help you if you need help, and we'll make sure all the resources we have mentioned are in the chat of this video, which you can replay later if you want to. It'll be on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. We're everywhere. Woohoo! And we're here to help you. Okay, anything? We got a little less than 15 seconds, Michelle. What are you going to tell these people?
Oh, bye. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you can do it. Let's just
You can do
encourage
it.
people.
If I can do it, you can do it for sure.
And thanks, Wingman. Okay, we're at 20 minutes. Thank you very much. Bye. Have a
Bye.
great day.